Okay, it's 1:49, and we'll call this meeting of the Sacramento Transportation Authority to order. I know we're short on a quorum, so we'll get started before the quorum. So, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. The members here.
Member Frost?
Here.
Guerra?
Here.
Hume?
Here.
Daniels?
Here.
Maple? Oh, Rodriguez?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Talamantes?
Here.
And you do not have a quorum.
Okay, would people in the chambers and members please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So we'll skip around on the agenda a little bit. Oh, and Madam Clerk, please read the Metro Cable statement.
Thank you. This meeting of the Sacramento Transportation Authority is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed caption and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Sunday, November 12th on Channel 14. The meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. Public comment. To make an in-person public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk. The chairperson will call your name when it is your turn to make a comment. To make a public comment by phone, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific off-agenda item. Clerk staff will transfer each caller into the meeting. You may be on hold for an extended period of time and your patience is appreciated. You may also send written comments by email to boardclerk@saccounty.gov. Your comments will be routed to the board and filed in the record, and that concludes the clerk's announcement.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public for items not on the agenda?
We do not. I do not have any speaker slips, and we do not have anyone in the queue.
Okay, then we'll move to the Executive Director's Report. And Kevin, if I do this, then you know what that means.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. So, over the past few years, there has been a variety of planning and project efforts by Caltrans, SACOG, and other agencies to bring new managed lanes to Sacramento County. Managed lanes are lanes that are not general purpose lanes. Examples of managed lanes include high occupancy vehicle lanes or high occupancy toll lanes. Measure A, as approved by the voters in 2004, allocates 9% of sales tax revenue to regional bus and carpool lanes, and a portion of development impact fees as well. So STA will need to consider its role in funding these facilities in the future, as it is part of our measure. So I am coordinating with several of these agencies to provide presentations to the STA governing board on the various planning and project efforts in and around Sacramento County. This first presentation is by Caltrans, and it's on today's agenda, but I have several other projects several other presentations. Given I have a little bit of time, I'll list those off. So I anticipate that Caltrans will be presenting on a District 3 managed lane system plan, basically identifying all the potential managed lanes that exist currently and in the next 20 years. That presentation I anticipate will come in at our next meeting, likely in January. Then another presentation that I'd like to have is the YOLO 80 managed lane project. YOLO County Transportation District is developing a project to add managed lanes on the YOLO bypass. And that is a project that they're currently working on, and I think that'll be a good example of managed lanes that are coming to almost into Sacramento County. So that'll be another presentation we'll likely see. I've already coordinated with them. And then finally, SACOG does have a vision for managed lanes in their 6-county SACOG region. And what I want to point out is all the agencies, these regional agencies that have plans, most of them are focusing on managed lanes in Sacramento County. So I want to get the board up to speed on all of that. Second item is Focus on the Future conference that I went to. So on October 29th through the 31st, I attended the Self-Help Counties Coalition annual conference called Focus on the Future. The Sacramento Transportation Authority is one of 25 agencies representing the self-help counties in California. Self-help counties are counties that have a transportation sales tax measure to help their county out. So I wanted to highlight a few of the takeaways from that conference. I thought that was really relevant to Sacramento County. So kind of some of the themes that I heard at that conference was there continues to be a coast to valley migration. So with the flexibility of remote work, you're seeing, and high cost of living along the coast, many workers are choosing to relocate farther inland. So inland counties such as Sacramento County, as an example, are seeing an influx of new residents, relocating primarily from the Bay Area. I think that this trend existed pre-pandemic, but has been accelerated post-pandemic, primarily due to the flexibility with remote work. The other trend that is interesting is just remote work is kind of defined as work from home or work where you want, right? Workers have a lot of flexibility and they enjoy that, but that's had a really big impact on transit services in many of the counties. So some of the traditional kind of regional and longer commute services, they're still at below the pre-pandemic level. And they're not at where they used to be. I think BART is actually a pretty good example of that. But now on some of the smaller local services, those are actually back at pre-pandemic levels or greater. And then a lot of agencies are looking at to be even more nimble, and they're looking at micro transit services as opposed to which could be more dynamic, to be more adaptable to that remote work environment. And so we have, obviously, in Sacramento County, we have Smart Ride that we operate. But it's interesting to see how remote work is sort of changing the way the transportation network works. And with that, is there any questions?
Yes, Director Daniels.
Thank you very much. You said 9% of the, was it Measure A funds that are directed to the managed lanes?
Yeah, that's correct.
And would we contemplate spending more than 9% on managed lanes?
Yeah, I don't think we would contemplate spending more than 9%, but that's kind of currently where it's targeted. And keep in mind, there's actually been several of these managed lane projects that have been completed. So the Interstate 80 across the top, that was an HOV lane that's been completed that had some Measure A funds on it. Caltrans is present on the I-5 project. And I think 9% is going to be about where it needs to be. In some of my prior presentations, Caltrans is incredibly gifted at leveraging those funds. Dustin and I are working on some analysis of all the completed projects that have been funded by Measure A on the capital side. And I think it's somewhere between 80 and 90% of leverage that they're getting from grants. So for every dollar of Measure A, Caltrans leverages another $8 to $9 of grant funds. And that's actually pretty much true of a lot of our programs. But what we want to do is we want to ensure that we're really leveraging those Measure A dollars. That was a long answer, Brett. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And then would we ever push that money outside of Sacramento County, or would it always stay in Sacramento County?
Yeah, we always stay within Sacramento County. Yeah, it has to benefit Sacramento. It has to be within Sacramento County.
And then the final thing is, I've noticed on those lanes, there's different time frames sometimes, and they really seem ridiculous at times. And are we in control of that? Do we decide, the lane is a managed lane from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., or is it 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.? Do we decide that, or does it? Who gets to decide that? So
the rules depend on the type of managed lane. So I believe for HOV lanes, it's a standard across the state. For high occupancy toll lanes or for express lanes, which are just tolled lanes, the tolling authority who manages those has authority over timing, type of pricing. How do you address equity? How do you address disadvantaged communities? And so, that's one of the things that we'll have to think about is, we're spending all these Measure A dollars on managed lanes. Do we want to control how our residents are impacted by those managed lane facilities? Do we want to be part of a tolling authority that moves forward?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So why don't we do this? I think let's go to number 9, because that's probably a little bit of a longer of a presentation, correct?
Correct.
So,
yes.
Madam Clerk, let's skip to item 9.
Okay, and they are switching the PowerPoints in the back. So item number 9 is receive information on the I-5 managed lane project and provide direction as appropriate.
So I have a quick introduction while the slides are getting pulled up. So Well, this will be our first presentation on managed lanes. There are several managed lane efforts by various agencies, and I anticipate more presentations will be provided to the board in the near future. For this first presentation, I've asked Caltrans to present on 3 topics. Just an overview of managed lanes and what they are. The recently completed I-5 corridor enhancement project from Elk Grove to about downtown Sacramento, which includes HOV lanes or bus carpool lanes, a type of managed lane, and is a Measure A funded project. And finally, the I-5 managed lane project from downtown Sacramento to Sacramento International Airport is the last project. So with that introduction, let me introduce Caltrans to provide this presentation. This is Jess Avila. If you want to go ahead and self-introduce yourself, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Kevin. For having us here today. I'd like to present I-5 corridor projects and also provide some information on District 3, what a managed lane project is, and of course the status of the I-5 corridor enhancement project and the I-5 managed lanes project. So Caltrans District 3 and managed lanes. So first, some facts about District 3. Okay, District 3 covers 11 counties and is responsible for over 4,300 miles of roadway. It employs 2,300 employees, which is about 10% of the Caltrans staff statewide. Our 2024 Caltrans strategic plan values and goals that are noted on the screen encompass our core principles of safety, equity, economic prosperity, and climate adaptation. So what is managed lanes? And you've heard some here from Kevin what they are. I'll just go through them briefly. Managed lane strategies include pricing, vehicle eligibility, and access control. And so I think we're most familiar with the HOV lanes, which typically require 2 or more in the Sacramento area. San Francisco requires 3 or more. There is a hot lane or high occupancy toll, which allows toll-paying vehicles alongside those that meet occupancy requirements. There's also express toll lanes, which all users would pay to utilize those lanes. Something to note, hot lane and express lanes are typically posted as express lanes on the freeway, so that's something to note. There's also bus-only lanes that exist, as well as dedicated truck lanes, typically used where there's a lot of trucks that need to bypass interchanges. We also have bus lanes, and yeah. So those are the extent of the managed lanes. As far as some of the benefits managed lanes provide, they reduce delay and increase travel time reliability for motorists. They improve efficiency of goods movement and freight. They support transit. Managed lanes are designed to keep vehicles speeds above 45 miles an hour. So that's a performance measure. Managed lanes move more people than the general purpose lanes because capacity is maximized by managing access to the lane. Carpools are encouraged because they lead to more reliable travel times and they reduce greenhouse gases. A status on the I-5 corridor enhancement project. This $370 million project extends from 1.1 miles south of Elk Grove overcrossing to the American River. The project added 23 miles of new bus carpool lanes from south of Elk Grove to the I-5 US 50 interchange. It rehabilitated 67 miles of roadway extending from south of Elk Grove to the American River Bridge. It modified 7 ramps for installation of ramp meters and transit, carpool, queue jump preferential lanes. It added auxiliary lanes, which improves the local circulation of communities around the interstate. It installed intelligent transportation system elements and fiber optics. Also replaced or upgraded drainage systems, overhead signs, lighting, pumping plants, approach labs, guardrail, and safety barriers. All the elements that go in on a freeway. What this project also did is it built a new Casilada pedestrian overcrossing designed to the latest American with Disabilities Act standards, and it provides access to schools on the east side and of the freeway and access to the river on the west side. This project also supported the cycle track along Franklin Boulevard, which was implemented by the city of Elk Grove, which connects to the Blue Line at Consumers River College. The project also addressed American with Disability Act compliant curbs, sidewalks for the disabled at major interchanges. As far as funding is concerned, something to note, STA accelerated approval of a new Measure A funding by 6 years for the I-5 bus and carpool lanes project by allocating a total of $30 million for construction expenditures that occurred over 4 years starting in fiscal year 2019. Measure A contributed about 10% of the construction cost of this project. Measure A also funded environmental work in the amount of $3.2 million from prior authorization. All of the work on this project was completed just at the end of last month. The I-5 Managed Lanes project, okay, so STA has an I-5 carpool lanes, which is from Elk Grove to I-80, and Caltrans broke out this STA project into two Caltrans projects. One, which I just presented, has been completed, and this I-5 Managed Lanes project, which is in the environmental phase, and the portion from the US 50 interchange to I-80 includes the STA carpool lane project. The overall project limits are from the US 50 interchange to the Sacramento River for this I-5 Managed Lanes project. The project area is subject to recurring congestion and impaired mobility, which results in inefficient traffic operation and movements of goods. There is limited multimodal options and lacks adequate travel information and monitoring. The goal for this project is to provide reliable travel times for transit and freight movement, relieve congestion, improve person throughput, improve traffic operations, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and provide expedited travel time information. So I-5 is designated as part of the National Network for Trucks Serving Interregional and Interstate Travel. This project will add managed lanes, pave the median from the American River to the Sacramento River, add integrated corridor management elements, make drainage improvements, and extend the fiber optic line from Broadway to the Sacramento River. This project will also close a bike trail. There's in North Natomas, there's a Jackrabbit bike trail that extends from the north and meets at San Juan. We're going to be closing that gap to meet with the Fisherman's Lake Trail, which will basically tie these two trails together and make it easier for folks from North Natomas to get into downtown. Additionally, this project plans to fund SAC-RT Route 11 Truxel frequent service. So instead of every 30 minutes or hour and a half, we're hoping it'll have 15-minute headway times. The project examined...
Excuse me, Jess?
No.
Just
yes,
a moment. Director Telematis?
Hi, I'm the council member that represents that piece of Natomas, and I would love some more information from you to distribute to the constituents regarding the projects that we currently have going on after this meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll provide that to you. Okay, so as far as project alternatives, it examined a no-build condition and 6 build alternatives representing various options for the managed lanes. Now, the managed lanes I'm going to describe differ based on user eligible to travel on the managed lane for free under each alternative. And we've already talked about HOVs. HOT, the managed lane would be restricted to vehicles with 2 or more passengers and toll-paying single occupancy vehicles. Alternative 4, HOT 3+, provides access to the managed lane would be restricted to vehicles with 3 or more passengers and toll-paying single occupancy vehicles and vehicles with 2 passengers. Under Alternative 5, all vehicle, regardless of occupancy, would pay a toll. As far as some of the project benefits this will bring to the I-5 corridor, some of these benefits are dependent on the alternatives, but they include reliable connectivity to jobs, Sacramento International Airport, and activity centers such as the Golden One, a more reliable highway system for goods movement, and an increase of more than 1,200 additional trucks per day. That is, when it's in place, that's how many more trucks it's going to be able to push through the system. Promote ride sharing and mode shifted transit. Improve safety by reducing number of congestion-related collisions. Provide reliable transit connectivity to disadvantaged communities. And it'll improve traffic operations and travel time reliability, 40% for managed lanes users, and almost 30% for the general purpose lane users and freight. The total cost of this project is $579 million, including VMT mitigation. Available funding includes $11.8 million in SACOG funding to cover environmental work and $57.5 million in Measure A for design, right-of-way, and construction. STA and Caltrans were also awarded $10 million through the SB1 TCP to fully fund the design cost of the project. This funding is currently in jeopardy of being lost. CTC guidelines require that an environmental document be completed 6 months from inception of the SB1 program approval. This date's coming up. It'll be the end of December of 2023. There is an unfunded need of $500 million that includes $176 million to be dispersed over 20 years for VMT mitigation. I'd like to point out that there is potential funding on the way. We partner with Sac County. We submitted a mega application requesting an amount of $182 million to fund construction costs for a large portion of the project. Right.
And before you start, Kevin, Director Daniels. Okay.
Yeah, just in the sense of urgency here.
Yeah, thank you, Jess.
I just wanted to, thanks, Jess, I appreciate it.
Sure.
We're under a bit of a time crunch here, so.
Yeah, so really quickly, I think Jess did a good job kind of highlighting an overview of each, managed lanes, the recently completed project and this new project. He did mention at the end of his presentation potential loss of $10 million of a grant that we received from CTC. So one thing I just want to clarify is that there's an interest, the plan was to complete environmental by the end of the calendar year. There's interest in adding a new alternative. So currently I'm working with CTC staff to try to preserve that $10 million award. And then I was going to coordinate between Caltrans and SACOG on this new alternative to ensure that, we both keep the $10 million award and we continue to look at this alternative. So the direction I was going to request it, or I'd like at the end of this presentation, was just to continue to work with CTC to keep that $10 million and do that coordination effort. And with that, that'll be the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. We'll start with Director Daniels.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to have him sit down. My question, and I don't know if you're the person to answer this, but it's always curious to me, is are you aware of who controls the, you talked about ramp metering, that was part of the project. Who controls ramp metering on freeways?
So Brian, our deputy from traffic operations, will be able to answer that question.
Okay.
And I would just, again, ask if we could make this quick because we will lose a quorum. Yes, thank you.
We do. In coordination with our local agencies, we look at what volumes are coming into the freeway, and we want to make sure that the main line continues the way that it goes. So we have certain rates that we do to make sure that's there, but we also take public comment and input on that as well.
And do you have to program that in at some point, and can you change it quickly remotely?
What we have now, so in the past it used to be more of a time of day type of function, but now it's traffic responsive. So we have detection out on the main line, and if there's a lot of traffic on the freeway itself, then it'll allow. It'll slow it down, and if there's less, then it'll speed it up. Yeah.
And this is not a slap in your face, but there's a serious dysfunction with it. I'm constantly going onto the freeway with a metered light that's red and cars that are going 65 miles an hour on the freeway. It's extremely dangerous also, but it's just something that needs to be looked into. It really needs to be changed.
Okay.
Thank you.
When detection is working, it works well.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Dan. Director Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the interest of time, I think what we should do, and again, this is a provide direction, is if unless there's an objection from the board, Mr. Chair, I would encourage that we provide direction for the executive director to work with the executive director of SACOG to one, preserve the $10 million, and I think we have to recognize too we want the right project, so going forward, making sure that's what we have to achieve is the right project, but find an avenue to not lose the $10 million so we can continue to move forward. So that would be, I think, the direction that I would say so we can get some flexibility between SACOG and CTC. Does that work for you, Mr. Busey?
That sounds wonderful. Yes, appreciate that.
Okay. Any other directors with comments? I don't see. Do we need a motion on that direction specifically?
Yeah, I'll make that motion as I stated to provide direction for that resolution.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment on this item? Okay, then please vote.
Unanimous vote by those members present.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to our Caltrans partners. Jess, thank you, and sorry I hurried you along. Then let's go back up because I know we have to take action on item number 8, so we'll go back to item 8.
Item number 8, you are to receiving information and authorize the executive director to amend multiple contracts of the Sacramento Freeway Service Patrol. Are you going to give the presentation? Yes.
We have a PowerPoint on this as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to take off in 13 minutes.
So given the interest of time, I'm happy to waive the presentation, just do a quick summary. So essentially, we've been talking about Freeway Service Patrol, and we've been trying to essentially align the current cost of that program with our budget. And so what we've done is we've gone through a series of efforts to really understand what would be the best from a data analytical standpoint, how it would be the best way to trim this down. I'm going to quickly go to what we ended up coming up with, which was, here we go. So the best changes to make in order to get this program cost effective is to keep the flatbed tow trucks over the service trucks, meaning that we'll continue to cover the zones that we're covering, but we're going to cover them with a tow truck and not have that additional service truck on a few of the zones. We're going to extend the current FSP contracts for 1 year. And then we plan on using used trucks on some of our newer contracts as long as they meet a certain minimum requirement. So let's see if I can, there we go. So with this, you'll see that we're extending zones, sending the contracts on several of these zones. So we're extending zones from the top. The contract is going to be extended for a year for zone 5, 6, 1, and 7. And then we're going to eliminate 3 service trucks on zones 6, 2, and 3 and 4, which is kind of a combined zone. And really quickly, you'll see the board approved in our last meeting to remove Zone 8. With that, you can see in this graph, it'll show our fund balance continues to go negative in the current fiscal year and the following fiscal years. With these changes, we anticipate having a positive fund balance for this year and the next 2 fiscal years. And with that, that's the end of this quick summary presentation.
Okay, Director Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and move the item. I looked at the analysis, and we actually saved by a low usage section on the north end of I-5 and 80. So with that, I'll move the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. I do believe we have one public comment on this, and since we do have another 10 minutes, Officer, is it McCormsey? McCumsey.
And we do not have any public commenters online.
And given my prior employment, I hope you all understand I'm indulging this public comment. So thank you for.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the board and STA for having us. We just wanted to say we approve with the changes here. We've been working with STA, and this outcome was the best outcome for the level of service for the motoring public out there. Granted, yeah, we do have to make cuts to stay within the STA budget, but with these cuts, we'll still have the level of service other than I think Jennifer Dahl talked about it last time with the cut of the YOLO beats up there. So, but with this level of service, yeah, we just wanted to come say we agree with the changes that are being made, and then hopefully, like Jennifer said, we're going to seek it. It gives us time to look for additional funding to hopefully bring it back and keep our level of service out there where it's at. My apologies. My name's Steve McCumsey here, in the interest of time, and then my partner Jeff Hand. We oversee the Valley Division Freeway Service Patrol program. So
Wonderful.
But yeah, I'm open for any questions. I know we're on a time thing here. I didn't get to do my full spiel, but we just wanted to second that we approve with our partner here, STA, that we approve with the changes that are being made.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being here, and please pass along to your commander, Captain Nagu, that next time I expect him to be in chambers here,
I gave him
participating
the link
in
to,
this.
view the live feed, sir.
Hopefully he's watching. All right. Thank you,
But
Officer.
yeah, I'm open for questions if you guys have any or comments or anything like that. So on the changes.
Not
we're
a
making.
question, Chair. I just want to say it's heartening to see that the CHP is producing such eloquent officers these days.
I appreciate it.
What? They always have. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for public comment. Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Okay, so we're going to go back since we still have Director Cerner for a few more moments. Let's go to the consent calendar. Any directors with comments or questions? Okay. Motion. Any public comment on the consent calendar?
We do not have any public comments, and wait a second. Thank you.
You got it. Please
And
vote.
please vote. Thank you. And the motion passes by unanimous vote, approving consent items 3 through 6.
I guess the question is, Bob and Dustin, can you knock out this last item in 7 minutes? Okay, well then let's go to item 7. Madam Clerk, please read the item.
Item number 7 is receive a presentation from the Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee and approve the annual comprehensive financial report, agreed upon procedures report, and governance letter.
All right. Good afternoon, Board Chair and Vice Chair. My name is Dustin, the Accounting Manager with STA. I'm before you to introduce Robert Holderness, who serves as the ITALC Chair currently. And I'd like to highlight that Bob has a long history with STA, and he's been on the ITALC for 7 years now. And he will be presenting the results of the 2022-2023 audit. And I have one change to propose that we can push an amendment through. I'd like to point out 2 pages, pages 16 and 54 of the annual comprehensive financial report. The proposed changes are to move the bond refunding transaction from into the other financing sources and uses from the expenditures category. This will bring the transaction into the same segment of the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance of the governmental funds. I propose accepting the attachments with these amendments. And thank you for your attention. I'm going to turn over the floor to Bob for a more detailed presentation.
Thank you, Dustin. Okay, Bob.
Mr. Chairman and members, Robert G. Holderness here, ITALK Chairman. This reminds me of Folsom in the 1980s when the mayor of that era had a 3-minute rule, and at 3 minutes, he turned off the microphone. So let's see if I can do that. First off, I'm here to introduce the annual comprehensive financial report for the 22-23 fiscal year. I want to point out that the ITALK is made up of 2 voting members, myself from the city of Folsom and Jose Luis Caceres, who's from the city of Sacramento. We also have 3 ex officios, Kevin Busey, your executive, Mark Aspezi from Sacramento County, and David Tate, who's the chairperson's appointee. The reports that you have before you are 4 in number: the annual comprehensive financial report for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year, the independent accountant's report on agreed upon procedures applied to appropriations limit testing, the independent accountant's report on applying agreed upon procedures, and lastly, the governance letter. Recall that the ITALK supervises fiscal and performance audits regarding the use of transportation sales tax funds and performs periodic independent reviews to ensure that all funds are spent in accordance with the voter-approved ordinance. This audit plays a crucial role in ensuring the financial and management controls within STA are maintained effectively. The audit opinion of Richardson and Company, which is before you, is an unqualified audit, which is the best outcome, and the financial statements were presented in accordance with relevant accounting standards. I should add, in the event you have questions, the audit partner is here today, as is Dustin Purrington. Ingrid, where are you, Ingrid? There's Ingrid. So if you have real questions, the 2 of them can answer them, real substantive questions. I have a couple highlights to point out to you, if I may, in the brief seconds left. Your program revenue came down about 4%. It's down to $2.6 million. That's not your sales tax revenue. Your sales tax revenue is at $182 million, which is about 5% increase. Your expenses are down about 5% at $149 million, and your debt service at $18 million is down about 24%. Your fund balance for 2023 is at $60 million, or up 30% from the previous year, and of course it's reduced because reduced capital expenditure spending, which is due, of course, to the recession, inflation, et cetera. I think an important part is that your budgeting program, I think, is being very effective. Your revenue budget was projected at $185 million. The actual revenue was $194 million, up 2%. Your expense budget was at $169 million. Actual was $155 million, 10% lower, again, due to reduced CIP spending. That's the general presentation that I have. If you have more substantive questions, Ingrid is here and Dustin to answer those. They're the technicians. I'm the overseer, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for the pleasure.
Thank you. And I think you may have a couple questions here. I'll start with Director Guerra.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank the ITALK. They've always helped us give good advice, and particularly when we were in precarious situations. And with that, I'd like to move approval of accepting their report.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Director Cerna? No?
I was going to say the motion probably should include the amendments that Mr. Purrington mentioned.
Very good, yeah, including the amendments as stated by staff earlier, if that's okay with council.
And the seconder of the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bob, and thank you for the brevity. Any public comment on this item?
We do not have any public commenters.
Okay, please vote.
And the motion carries by unanimous vote with those members present.
Okay, we got through it all. Thank you, Director Cerna.
Director Cerna.
2 minutes to spare, and that leaves time for director comments. I think that's our remaining item. Any comments from directors? Seeing none? Okay, then we are adjourned at 2:28.
Boom.